Oh, snap. Oh, snap. It's almost that time. We're getting ready to go live. It is almost that time. It's just a matter of syncing all the servers so that way we all can watch together. If you can hold off another 30 seconds, we'll be up and ready to go for you to see the show, because it's happening like you know. Alright. Hold on. Okay. So we got like 20 seconds for the sync to finalize. That ain't hard. We got this. Everybody got this. Alright. Okay. Yep. Clicking the buttons. Clicking the things. You don't hear no clicking, do you? No, you don't. Okay. Alright. What up, everybody? It is another episode of 3D Changes Perspectives, and as you saw from the title, we are going to dive deeply into Ledger again. We got wonderful Miss Amiris here with us again, but before that, we're going to thank the sponsors, because Roundly X, probably the greatest sponsor we got around here. Just want to point out, you can jump into Roundly X today. Go ahead and use the sign-up code 3D Changes Perspectives to get $15 in Bitcoin. It is actually something I really like to use. They got this ideal bumps thing that really is insane. I like to really use it because basically it lets me know what's going on, when things are popping, and it's available on my smartphone. And you sync up, round up, daily up to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. Again, use Change Perspectives when you sign up to get $15 extra in Bitcoin today. And I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get those roll-ins to roll in and see how good they are. Woo! Awesome sauce. Okay, I just realized the meal was off. All right, thank you so much, friendlyx.com, for being a sponsor. Again, thorough changes perspectives when you sign up to get an extra $15 in Bitcoin today, and DCA into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies easily with friendlyx.com. Now, again, like I said, we are going to have it's Amiris on board with us today. Let me see. I know. It's in here somewhere. Hold on a second. Let's see if we can get this to pop in. Oh. All right. Let's see if we can get.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what is up, Amiris?
I'm actually on time this time.
Hey, yeah, I get it. You know, we're in England. You're over in America. It's understandable, yo. All right, but we are all been sitting back, you know, for the past like month, waiting for the rest of this dive. I know I've been checking bits and stuff on little bits here and there, but I'm really curious. What do you got for us, and how's this going down?
So, in the last episode, I talked about, the risk of subpoena and why that was, problematic. And I was just going to pick up where I left off there. Like, we already talked about at least, I think, two scenarios as to why that is a concern, even though it might be not big of a concern for people who are not, quote, doing anything questionable, but you never know in the future when laws are going to change and if they're going to be retroactive and
Mm-hmm.
persecute people from the past. And then we talked about the history of the gold confiscation, and that could be repeated with just not precious metals, but possibly crypto as well. I didn't touch on the next idea, and I probably won't get into it right now because it's more of a hypothetical and conspiracy theory of if we're having a way to back up our crypto to a third party, to like a custodian. then hypothetically a country could pass a law forcing like know your customer on a hardware wallet. And then that would, take away the pseudo anonymity, or at least hypothetically it would. Anyone who doesn't register their wallet with the government would be breaking the law. It would be easy to not register, but if you were ever caught, and stuff like Ledger Recover just makes it encroach a little bit sooner, and it makes it more feasible for governments to request, well, hey, it's mandatory to use something like Ledger Recover. And then Ledger Recover has your name, your address, it has your crypto wallet. But I'm just going to say that and leave it at that, because that is more of a conspiracy theory. And I don't know, like, stuff would have to get passed in many countries, and that's probably difficult. And like I said, the argument could be made to those legislators that it's easily bypassed. Granted, you can make it criminalized, but you get the point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with you on there now. I do want to point out we got on the screen a thread of yours. Some of the stuff I know we're going to go over for sure, right? And I just want to point out there's a QR on your screen right now. If you scan it, you can go directly to this thread, and everything we do today. If you see a QR pop up, that's exactly what that means. It means scan it and go there so you can stay along with the subject matter, because Aramis does not hold back and she's got good information. Um, so we're starting off where we left off. All right, and you've pretty
Yeah.
much caught us back up. So where do you want to go from here? You want to go to number
So,
12, or do we want to start with number
yeah.
one?
So I was gonna go to number 12, because I didn't really get to name all of them and then show like the treaties and stuff of why. Because okay, when I was on the Ask Me Anything, the AMA of Ledger, the first one and even the second one, Ledger really downplayed the whole, oh, we're not going to get subpoenaed, we're not in the jurisdiction. And then, even when they were pressured a little bit more, they were like, well, we don't have to comply because look what Apple did. And that's true. But also, people kept saying, look what Coinbase did when the IRS requests information from customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my pet peeve is they downplayed this jurisdiction. And that, I don't want to sound too harsh, but I don't know any other word for it. That to me really felt like a lie. So on my little number 12, it says the other two um, companies that are holding the shards. One is CoinCover, which is also known as Digital Asset Service Limited, I think is LTD,
Yeah.
and then Escrow International Incorporated. So CoinCover, they are incorporated in Wales, well, in England and Wales, in the United Kingdom. Okay, now you would think that that might be safe because they have to go through red tape bureaucracy. If you're a different country, like the United States, they would have to go through bureaucracy to petition or whatever they have to do to request whatever is the same equivalent as a subpoena to the United Kingdom government.
Mm-hmm.
As for Escrow Tech is literally in the United States. It's in Lehigh, Utah. So that's like on a silver platter right there. And again, Ledger, even though they're incorporated in Paris, France,
Mm-hmm.
they have offices in San Francisco, United States, in California. With that said, um, let me go to. I think I sent you this link. The the link with the I don't even know what you call it, but the mutual legal assistance. Yes, you're on it. Okay. So when it comes to the UK and even France, there's treaties between the governments of those countries. And one of them is the mutual legal assistance treaties. And that, the one that I screenshot was since April 2022, but it's been in effect for a while. Let me go to the next photo. So France, I guess they first did the treaty, I guess in 2001, and then I guess they renewed it or whatever they did in 2010. And then for the United Kingdom, I'm just assuming here because of the dates on here, I'm assuming the first treaty thing was 1996, or at least the most updated one, and then they updated it again, whatever they had to do, or renewed it in 2010. So the reason why this is important is these countries already have agreement not just to extradite people, they have agreement to like gather evidence and enforce any criminal laws. So if there's a law broken in the US, but say it's not a law in the UK, there is room there for negotiation on the United States government to say, hey, this person is in your jurisdiction, but they broke our law and we have this treaty. We would like to persecute them. And then not only that, but they can go so far as to, like I said, extradite. So they could send that person, say from the UK or France, and ship them over to the United States to have a court proceeding in the United States. Um, so I just want to highlight that like real quick because I'm really irritated that Ledger really downplayed that. They made it sound like on their Ask Me Anything that these jurisdictions in UK and France were like, it wasn't impossible, but they were acting like it was difficult. It would be difficult for the United States government and probably other governments to try to request someone's ledger seed phrase from the shards.
But in reality,
But
they actually had a treaty with multiple governments to do exactly that statement, right?
yes, because that would be gathering evidence. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, anyways, I just want to point that out because I was very irritated.
Oh, I bet. I bet it, especially like in spaces and stuff for the AMAs where you know they're gonna stay to the lawyer's call, right? You know, whatever the lawyer says, they're gonna say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now skipping to, I guess we can go on number 18. Um, because I know people are really upset about this. But I do want to defend Ledger on this because there's some details that I think a lot of people, including myself at the time, was not aware of. And like I said in part one of this series of the episodes on Ledger, is, Ledger really marketed themselves as a secure element. So I know you're not supposed to trust, you're supposed to verify, but they were such a big, presence in the cryptocurrency community, and people loved them, and quote, other experts kind of backed them. And so the fact that they had marketing material stating that their secure element, the keys never left that device, like I just kind of believed it at face value. And I thought, I don't know. I just thought that maybe they solved something that other hardware wallets didn't solve, or maybe they partnered with a hardware security module chip maker, like a chip manufacturer, to do something a certain way. But, you know, the more I think about it in hindsight,
Hmm.
that was kind of foolish of me to even assume, anyways, whether I verified it or not. Because think about it. If it was imbued in the hardware security module from the beginning and it could not leave the device, then how would you ever update the device? Do you get what I'm saying? Like how,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is how would you update it to support new blockchains? So the fact that we're able to update it to support new forks of blockchains and stuff like that, you would have to change the hardware security module. And like that just didn't occur to me. But at the same time, like I said, the Federal Trade Commission stuff with the false advertising, why would Ledger put out that marketing material being like, your keys are like in the secure elements and like nothing can change it? And while the keys technically at the time did not leave the secure element was always malleable, it was always mutable. So there's always like that chance, whether it's Ledger or a malicious actor, to push a firmware update to open up a route to like get the keys and seed phrase. So with that said, um, I know people are probably upset, but this is what I mean by I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt because I should have like realized this, but I didn't. And this is true for all hardware wallets at this time. So it's not just Ledger. So that's why I'm saying in this part, I'm kind of going to defend Ledger because they're not the only ones who do this. It's all hardware wallets. So, according to Christopher Allen, he says in his tweet, as it turns out, all hardware wallet designers already know this. Um, all it requires is a signed firmware update, and seeds can go wherever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, why? I'm trying to get to my next photo. Um, he does this whole thread with it. Basically, let me get to the next photo. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
He was saying, yeah, he was saying the problem is that no existing secure element chip can do SecP 256K1, which is the curve used by Bitcoin and Ethereum natively and safely in semiconductor logic. So this is what like this is the encryption for like the deterministic wallet stuff. You know
Yeah,
what I
this is
mean?
for
Um,
HD wallets. Yeah.
yeah. So then he goes on to say this isn't an issue with Ledger, it's an issue with all current chips used by wallets today. Now, he means hardware wallets. So this is the issue with all hardware wallets. It's not just Ledger. Um, so
No,
anyways, I did that whole screenshot and he was just saying, I'm trying to skip. Uh oh, so in this other tweet, he says, in other words, the public might have had the expectation that keys weren't going to ever leave the ledger, but that expectation is actually impossible to support today. And I would like to interject on any hardware wallet, not just Ledger, because keys already have to leave the most trusted part of the secure element to be used. So for it to like sign transactions, it has to go outside of that secure element and get like verified through the MPU. And then and then the MPU verifies it. And then that's like, it's this whole like process when you're trying to sign transactions and stuff.
yeah.
So not only is it technically already leaving the secure element to even operate because it has to be passed to the MPU part, but on top of that, like I said, if you go to the other image with the hardware security logic unit,
Yeah, where it shows you how it processes information.
no, yeah, that one, Rowan I can't pronounce it.
Run
The
Vruta.
dot ETH guy, yeah, the panda avatar dude. Um, so he puts up this image and this is literally what was in my mind too. He was like, how I thought Ledger works. That's how I thought Ledger works. Like I thought it was literally like you could not like breach the secure element. You could not breach inside the hardware security module. That's what I thought. But in the second image, you see that the image has like dotted lines
Mm-hmm.
because you can just go in and out. And then that's why that secure element can pass that data to the MPU. And not only that, but the firmware could change the the logic to allow the keys to be sent out into sharded pieces. So because it's changing how the secure element operates, um, the hardware security module is not like set in stone, and it's not a secure enclave like at all. It's not cut off. Like what's his name? Christopher, is it Christopher? Yeah, Christopher said it was just a expectation because it's impossible. It's not going to work like that because you
Yeah, it
need
was something they encoded, but they forgot that the chip doesn't follow encodings of a different structure.
Yeah. And also to their defense too, again, like you kind of need okay. So unless you're going to come out with a hardware like device every time you want to update something. And I don't mean like a little update. I mean like say a new blockchain gets forked and people want it supported. With the way that I and others kind of imagined the secure element, that would require a company to manufacture the hardware over and over again with any new update. That's like, unless you pass that cost on to the customer, that's way too much overhead and it's way too expensive. And like doing a hardware based business like that probably is not going to be profitable. So it's probably a disaster waiting to go out of business. So you would kind of want, like, when it comes to business, making profit, I mean, unless, like I said, someone comes up with a better solution, it does make sense that you need firmware to change the logic of how the hardware security module operates. Because if you don't, you're just stuck, like, in time with when that was manufactured, and then you can't update it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I know, like, say for example, like Bitcoin was actually designed where the chain is supposed to always be able to do that, where you should always be able to use old school tech for the new age, whatever. But when it comes to like just going from like Bitcoin and Ethereum use the same sign key, but like Bitcoin and Litecoin don't. Dogecoin and Litecoin use the same sign key, right? And so you're right, you'd have to have a whole new chipset made for types of sign keys. And I do find the fact that Christopher Allen points out there is no hardware able to do those types of signings because the type of signings they're doing normally takes more than one chip to do.
Yep, exactly. So, everyone who's mad at Ledger, specifically for this, don't be mad at them for the technicalities because every hardware wallet operates like this. It's not their fault.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
part of it is kind of the manufacturer for the hardware security module, but even then, that's not their fault because, like I said, they were told by the hardware wallet company, hey, we need to be able to update this. So they're just, fulfilling the client's needs. But where we can be upset, especially people who are not like really tech savvy or even go this deep dive into stuff, Ledger really messed up, in my humble opinion, when they marketed themselves as a secure enclave, stating that keys never leave the wallet. There is a tweet out there. I think I did tweet it to my page, but I forgot to send you the link. But it is there. It's I think we went over it last time, and everyone's seen it already. It's the link that says it's just copying Ledger. It's Ledger was claiming the keys never leave the secure element. Um, so again, that's like false advertising. They could have worded it better. They could have said it a different way. Um, I mean, I don't know if
Yeah, it comes
people
down
are.
to the marketing side of it was what killed them, right?
Yeah, so like there is Federal Trade Commission laws, and like I said, they do have offices in San Francisco, California, and California itself is really strict with certain stuff, including marketing. So not only do you have the national level of marketing stuff, um, which is basically the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, but oh no, you're not gonna find it in a search because like they deleted it. Someone screen captured it.
Yeah, I'm
You're gonna
noticing. I'm
yeah,
noticing.
you're gonna have to go to like my tweet um profile and like just scroll. I can look for it too. But basically what I was saying is so the Federal Trade Commission is the national one, and there is like some rules and laws about false advertising. So they did mislead like regular consumers who just don't know better. And like California, I don't know like the name of the law and stuff, but like California is really strict on stuff too when it comes to like false advertising. And I'm not saying like they literally did this on purpose. I mean, you got to keep in mind that, for most of them, French is like their first language. English is probably their second or third language. Um, I mean, I think they hired some English speaking people, maybe. I forget the one guy who was on the Ask Me Anything. But the point is, I know that they're a big enough like company that they should have had like some sort of team to like be able to tweet out what they tweeted out in a better way and more compliant and not misleading people who either A, took it for granted, like I took it for granted at face value, I didn't verify. And then other people who just weren't tech savvy, who just also took it at face value because, like, why not?
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm also scrolling through my stuff. So many tweets. It's past the thread. I know that because I tweeted it yesterday. I'm so sorry.
And it's just a
I'm trying to
picture,
look.
right? Or with picture with
Oh,
words. That's just
no,
media.
it's a retweet. Like I commented on it, but
Uh,
like yeah, it was a retweet of something.
sending good
Um
replies.
yeah. So I think I'm getting close. I apologize.
No worries.
I really should have not have tweeted so much. Oh my god, now I'm regretting this.
Don't ever
Um
regret tweeting. I don't know how many times I've done stuff where I'll end up needing to go back and look through tweets and have to go through, hundreds or thousands of tweets to find the thing from yesterday.
yeah. Okay, I retweeted your stuff there. But then oh my goodness. Oh, it must have been in a thread. Oh no. Okay, you know what?
Yeah, it looks like
I'm
it
gonna
might have
use.
been deleted.
No, I didn't delete it.
No, if
But
they deleted theirs, yeah.
I think it's in a thread. Yeah, but there's a guy who screenshot it, and that's who I was retweeting. So let me just search for it real quick. I
Okay.
think it was. I'm gonna do keyword ledger, SE.
Everybody,
Never.
pay attention to how she's searching. This is golden, golden. Because most people don't know how to search. That's something I found out doing on this is people nowadays just they don't know how to use a search engine. They're like just put in one word and you go. And I'm like, nah, bro, break it down.
Okay, this is not the guy that I retweeted, but it's good enough. So, how am I gonna say this? Okay, so his handle is at KHADKASUSHAN. Again, this is not the guy that I retweeted, but then if you search for his handle and search Ledger and then SE, S is in Sam, E is in elephant, you should be able to see this image. And it's the image of the screenshot. It's Ledger. I'm gonna go back to your screen so I see. Um, okay, the search came up for me. Yeah, take off the from. I don't know. I didn't search with from in front. Oh,
Yeah,
there it is,
yeah.
right
From
there.
just
Yeah.
tells Twitter to only look for through that person's stuff.
Okay, so here, this is what Ledger deleted. So like they messed up.
I was just
They messed up when they
I was
deleted
just
it.
in this thread, so I was able to find this thread because you're right. This one of one is not there. Only the two of two is there now. Um,
Yup.
He's like, I was like, I remember seeing this tweet. I remember being there, and yeah, there it is right there. Your C never releases a secure element of your Nano device. If you choose to use ledger recovery, it splits into 3 encrypted shards. This is one of the things that made everyone freak out immediately. They were like, whoa. How can I split it if it can't leave it? And
Yup.
that
But
was
this
the
is a
one that said
more
it worked.
recent one. Yeah, this was a
Yeah,
more recent.
it's
There
not
was
like the
one,
original
I
one when
think.
it first came out, and they were still claiming the same thing. I think what it was is
Yeah.
they just got so used to making that statement that they weren't
Um,
realizing they were producing something that's counter to that statement.
yeah, exactly. So technically, they didn't really do anything wrong. But when it comes to actually advertising, they technically put false advertising out there, misleading customers who did not have that level of capability to verify, or even just people who just took them at face value, like I did. Because I was like, oh, they must have solved something that I didn't know
Now,
anyone solved yet.
now, do you know what kind of work it would have taken to actually get this verification to be done? Like, just so people understand, like, you would have had to have hacked into the pin sets, so you would know what pins did what for each chip. Because keep in mind, they were not like just publicly available chipsets that when they first came out, you couldn't just look it up and find out what was what. They were still like private chipsets, so to speak, even though they weren't. Like now,
Yes.
we later on found out they were really not, but then you would have had to know where the backend address for that updater is at, which they were not giving that information out at all. And when people were doing updates, they were sending an update to their computer and then to the ledger. So capturing that actual information was not proper, right? Because we now know that the actual update to update the firmware for the ledger itself or the SC was different than the actual update people were using. So that wouldn't have worked because we were basically not given the real update address, and then they would have had to try to just do it. So, and that basically becomes down to an impossible point. Someone would have had to have been watching their ledger activity all the time. They've had one connect. We would have had to have had one connected to a computer that's just basically watching it completely through like a secondary shell, an EVM or something, a VM or something like that. And I don't know why I said EVM, but VM, and seeing all the traffic data for it to randomly get a firmware push that they did not ask for, and then that would
Yes.
be the only way to get it. So that could take some time.
Yeah, like behavioral analysis. So you
Mm-hmm.
could have maybe picked up on it through behavioral analysis, but to really verify it, you were correct the very first time when you started talking on this part of it. You literally would have to hack the hardware to have found out everything about the hardware security module, the so-called secure element. You would have had to open it up, void the warranty, void whatever, um, hopefully not break it, have the specialized tools to poke around, and then have also the knowledge of what you're even looking at and retrieving from like the source code, which in this case it's mostly C in the C language, but there are other stuff, and we do not know what the hardware security module is to this day because Ledger will not ever open source the hardware security module stuff because one, they didn't make the chip. A different company made that chip. And so they probably signed like a non disclosure agreement. And then even if they could release that code, it like I know security by obscurity is not very good. But a bunch of hardware security module manufacturers really rely on that. And Ledger and other hardware wallets are relying on that mostly to not release the code of the chip. Because, like, we already are aware that there's been hardware hacks. Now, just imagine how easier and how much more people would find different vulnerabilities if that source code for the hardware security module was released. It would probably 10x it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you have a very limited amount of people who can figure it out without it being open source, with it being proprietary. So the hardware security module is proprietary. Ledger has came out in their Ask Me Anything AMAs on Twitter Spaces, and they said that one, they're releasing as much open source as possible, but there's pieces of the code that they will not release. And one of the code bases that they're not going to release is the hardware security module. And I think they also briefly touched on the fact that, they didn't manufacture the chip. So it's not even their decision because they bought that hardware security module from another company. And that company obviously doesn't want them to release the code.
Yeah. I think the scary part that everyone should be thinking about is because no one knows whom made this chip, you have to then worry about any um, type of similar system claiming similar with a secure chip of any kind. It could be the same chip. And that's the scary part that I think everyone's not thinking about is if this one is not good or is in some form broken for whatever reason, could other ones be as well?
Yes, exactly. Um, but now that we touched on that, let me bring up my other notes real quick. Um, I do want to calm some people's nerves a little bit. It depends on like who is choosing to use Ledger still, even after all of this. Um, but I will say that in the last episode, part one, I made a really big deal about, having questions still about the Schmear secret sharing algorithm, why they chose a threshold of 2 out of 3, what exactly was all the encryption methods that they were using. And then I just wasn't sure how it was implemented, because if you implement it wrong, like it also weakens the like robustness of the security too.
Mm-hmm.
However, I would like to say again, Ledger was a little misleading. So, not just me, but other experts, like even Christopher, was pointing out like all these flaws with the smear secret sharing if they did not do it like exactly perfectly correctly.
Yeah.
But get this. While there is no set standard, well, there's some people promoting or proposing some standards for smear secret sharing algorithm. There is not like a solid like, this is the standard kind of thing that's been audited like heavily and all that, which is why experts and even me was like criticizing like, well, we need to know more like about how this algorithm's working. And that's why I went to like mull through the code base, and that's why I think Ledger open sourced more of their code base. So this was in that code base that was open source. Um, it turns out I am impressed with what they did. Okay, so again, they got it wrong. And again, I don't think they were on purpose trying to be misleading, because actually, the way that they stated in their Ask Me Anything as smear secret sharing. Okay, I think they said that because, like I said, English is not their first language. It turns out they are using verifiable secret sharing, which, yes, is a form of smear secret sharing. So I think what they thought is, well, everyone knows what smear secret sharing is. This verifiable secret sharing uses that, but like it uses it in a very standardized way. Um, Anyways, so the abbreviation is SSV. So it's verifiable secret sharing. It's a cryptographic protocol, and it's in the C language. The code base, most of the Ledger code base for the SDK is in C language. Um, Anyways, so I was impressed because that's been standardized, and not only that, but I mulled through more of the code base. So if you go to my tweet, it has a hashtag of smear secret sharing. It says I procrastinated many days. It's me tweeting about
Yep.
the encryption stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
SECP384R1.
Yes. So when it comes to smear secret sharing, or even, like I said, the standardized verifiable secret sharing, you either have to like do it correctly, you either have to secure it with running the encryption curve algorithm stuff, the math. I'm not very good at math. But you got to do the math in either what's called a finite field or a prime field.
Mm-hmm.
So finite field, gets the job done. Everyone is okay with that, usually, as long as you don't mess it up. But the prime field is even more robust. Like it goes above and beyond. Like the prime field is even more secure than the finite field.
And I
So,
think that might
if,
be kind of easy to understand why, right? Finite field is limited while the prime field kind of has an unlimited factor to it, right?
yes, yes, exactly. So, again, I am impressed. Not only did they use a like standardized version of smear secret sharing within the C programming language, which is a verifiable secret sharing. That's a library in C that you can like link up to in your code. But on top of that, they decided to use this sec P384R1 elliptic curve for the prime field implementation for the verifiable secure sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is very impressive. So just know that, well, let me walk through the whole process. So this the hardware security module, we don't know what the encryption key imbued on that embedded is, but we do know that both the hardware security module manufacturer and the ledger holds what's called a master key that's imbued for this encryption to keep that chipset secure. Okay, so that's the first level. Then the second level is like the generating of the keys, whether it's like bit 39 or whatever. You have the processes going on in both the hardware security module, and I forget what the acronym stands for, but the MPU part of the processor as well. It gets passed off, and then it generates the deterministic wallet stuff, right? And they're using a standardized version of, what everyone's using, like on blockchain, to generate like the Bitcoin wallets, the Ethereum wallets, what have you. Okay, so that's that next level. Then the level on top of that, when you go to shard your keys, is this elliptical curve algorithm that's set within the prime field. So this begins to wrap those seed phrases and before it even passes it off.
Mm-hmm.
And before it passes it off, it goes through. I'm gonna try to bring up my other tweet. Oh, here it is. I think. Yeah. So the BOLOS tweet, the BOLOS. BOLOS, like operating system or whatever. Okay. So then it goes from wrapping your keys in that prime field stuff, right, to secure it, and then it opens up what's standardized again within cryptocurrency wallets in most implementations, anyways, not just Ledger. This BOLOS stuff, which is blockchain open ledger operating system, and then it opens up a tunnel using like OpenSSL or embed TLS. I think they're using embed TLS though.
Probably
I can't
it's a
remember.
bit more
Yeah,
common
I can't.
nowadays.
Yeah, I can't remember if I completely verified that or not. Okay, so this is where I kind of got upset because it looks like that's where the RSA encryption is at.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is communicating a layered of encryption. So, like I said, you have the encryption of the hardware security module that's already protecting your stuff on your hardware device. But then it wraps it in that prime field encryption stuff. So before it even gets past to this TLS tunnel, it's already wrapped in another layer of encryption. Okay, so then there's this, and I believe in the Ask Me Anything AMA with Ledger, they were talking about, oh, the communications over the internet when it passes the shards. They were like, oh, that's using elliptical curve algorithm. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's probably the standardized SSL. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. Um, and then the shard gets passed through that tunnel and it's connected according to them. So this is where it gets kind of hypothetical and based on what they said on the Ask Me Anything. on the Ask Me Anything, it sounds like they have this authentication where they have to like prove to the hardware security module that they have the authority for this. At least this is what they made it sound like. I'm very skeptical of that because of what they also said. The reason why I'm skeptical is they also said that they want people to be able to be free to make their own home brewed solution. So not only can they shard the ledger with this firmware update, but you can literally, if you're uncomfortable with sending your shards to 3 different companies, including Ledger, they also said on their AMA that you can take your own shards and put them on your own chosen servers. So, in other words, they plan to let you be able to code how you want to do your shards. So you can make your own solution. Well, if that's the case, you don't actually need that master key verification then. So the fact that they said that they were going to have like this somehow tunnel verification that their end was like, end to end encrypted with the communication on the ledger, I find that hard to believe if they're also allowing people to make their own version of the shard,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then you
because
don't have that.
normally the way you would get it where you can verify it without like a key or something is you just have like a baked in IP address or a baked in something, right? Something baked into the chip so it always knows, right? But if they
Exactly.
can change that, either A, chip is updatable and changeable, which means that anyone could do that, or it doesn't actually have a verification system other than giving it data.
Yep. So that's where I do grow a little bit skeptical, because it does sound really great when it's like, oh, like they can't even open up this tunnel without like this extra verification. But I think the verification that they might have been hinting on is they need the user to, and they do, they need the user to go ahead and initiate it. I think that's what they're talking about. They make the connection based on the user, inputting on the hardware device, yes, I want to go ahead and do these shards. And then it, triggers that. Which brings me to the very next point. And I did not get to, do like threads or screenshots on this except for the finger thing, the double finger uh exploit. Let me bring that up. I probably butchered the name. I'm sorry. Um, but it's in my main tweet thread. Bringing it up too, so it's in front of me.
You remember which number it might be?
I'm looking for that now. It has an image, if that helps. Like it has an image of a hand. I put the
17.
exploit image up. Oh, okay.
I
Let
was
me
looking
let
at
me
it
catch
thinking I
up.
had it and I wasn't sure. Yep, you said image of a hand. Yep, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. Give me a second. Um,
That's got
it's
encrypted
not it's
data
not
in
in
it,
front of
yeah?
me.
That image has encrypted data in it, yeah?
Yeah, but like I took a screenshot, so there's more data that doesn't,
Well, I mean, it's
it's
like,
not going to execute.
alright, so if you look in the image, the very top of it has a section that is what we would call misvalued. You know, the values.
Yes,
That is kind of a secret that when you do stenography, that when you have a lot of data going
that's
into a small
exactly,
field, that's the secret right there.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's steganography. Yeah,
Okay.
it's part of the exploit. Okay, so there is this exploit hitting multiple different hardware wallets and probably hot wallets as well. It's affecting Trezor just like it's affecting Ledger. There's nothing special here. This is not like, harping on Ledger, but Ledger is part of the exploit. But so, with all that said, opening up the hardware security module to these firmware updates and then opening up a route to do sharding, we're lucky that this current exploit, this current malware that's being deployed and attacking people's cryptocurrency and taking it, is like It starts out as sophisticated, yes, and then you get to the end and it's very rudimentary, thankfully. I say thankfully because it could be a lot worse, but this is going to be my point in the future soon too. So, it takes over like your system with this greeting goal. It acts like a Trojan, and then it does prompt the user, "Hey, here's like this attention error message or whatever. Put in your seed words," and that's why I say that it's rudimentary, because even though it is very sophisticated and it's a multi-step piece of malware that has to execute, including using steganography. It comes onto your system through this image, and it releases like file instructions with this other, like there's an exe that's involved too. Um, but oh, I'm so sorry. Let
No
me
worries.
close that.
My, my,
Um,
my stuff makes noise too sometimes.
Okay, so with that said, despite it being very, sophisticated on that front, and despite it taking over most of your system, after a while, when it comes to stealing the crypto, they don't actually try to like grab your crypto. They just try social engineering at the very end. After all that effort, after all that like high level like deployment of the malware payload, they then just default to let's just social engineer the user to put in the seed phrase. So that's a good thing for us, but looking at this, it's also a disappointment. It's like you did all that work and then you're just still gonna do social engineering. Okay. Um, especially now that we know about the sharding. So the reason why I bring this up in the thread and even here is if they got this far, they can bypass the social engineering in the future. And this is how. I haven't like, written this up yet, but I plan to. So if all it takes is a firmware update, you don't attack the ledger itself. You attack Ledger Live, the software, because Ledger Live prompts the user to update their firmware. So if you can somehow compromise the Ledger Live software that Ledger uses to interface with their hardware wallets, then once you pretend to have like a doppelganger version, like a mirror version of Ledger Live, and the user thinks they're using the real Ledger Live, then you can push whatever updates you want. Not only that, but while yes, Ledger says the very last end of defense is you have to, on your hardware device, accept it. Like you have to sign. Like you have to push the buttons on your ledger. Here's how you bypass this. You bypass it with a Ledger Live update to a malicious Ledger Live, and then that Ledger Live pushes a malicious firmware update. But here's the thing, you're not going to get every ledger out there. You're only going to get the ledgers that currently have enabled what's called blind signing. So here's a trick, and this is where it gets like high level. Once you push the malicious hardware, not hardware, malicious firmware update to the hardware wallet, and you really hope that the user uses something like Uniswap or something where they have to enable blind signing, and you have to hope that they're using Ledger for Uniswap. Anyways, so when that user goes to one of those websites that requires blind signing to be enabled, you in parallel execute what you need to execute like by piggybacking on that like signing request or just that transaction request.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to be a request that requires blind signing. And this is why. Because then when the user goes to just, go through the motions because it's blind signing anyways, you can't see anything. And they're pushing all the buttons like accept, accept, accept. Like one of those accepts are gonna be, hey, update the like update not just the firmware, but update to wrap my seeds and put it in a shard and send out the shard.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yes, this is very difficult and very high level, but it can be done. And I think the only way to mitigate against it is to just inform users that now enabling blind signing and doing blind signing from your ledger has gotten way too more risky. Because as soon as someone figures out how to put that like multi step exploit together and they deploy it and it hits people doing blind signing, that's the only way that you're going to prevent it. Just don't do blind signing, like on a ledger, like period. Just don't. And maybe on other hardware devices. There are some wallets that don't require blind signing. Like I just purchased one because of that, because they actually show you everything, mainly because it's a big screen. I think one of the reasons why Ledger doesn't enable blind signing is they have such a small screen. It would just be too cumbersome for even the user to go through all that. And like in some websites like Uniswap, your transaction would time out before you even get through all the information. So I think that's one of the reasons why they, you know, default to blind signing.
I want to
I'm not,
also point out a lot of people who use Ledger use it in correlation to a hot wallet. So they see the data
yeah,
on the hot wallet, then they use the Ledger as a cold sign. So there's a lot of people who they just view that data off to the side, so they don't actually need it.
yeah, exactly, that too.
I do
Um,
want to point out you were saying besides the whole blind signing thing, you said phishing or live Ledger Live was the only other way to attack them, right?
well, no, that's part of the multi-step.
That's part of
Like
it.
before,
Oh wow.
yeah, so before you even get to the blind signing enabling, that's the enabling on the hardware device.
Well, I'm going to go
You
ahead
would
and
have
show the screen to
to,
the users so they can, because Ledger actually admits that they have an ongoing phishing problem, and they have shut down just last month 101 websites, over 226 social profiles about, believe it or not, false Ledger Live applications. Not just people like hitting you up through emails saying, hey, we are Ledger Live, but an actual Ledger Live, false Ledger Live, authenticated on Windows, is being self installed on computers. And that is what this is actually referring to. There's 101 websites who have been shut down for producing false Ledger Live.
exactly. And like while like it's interesting that you said while it's Windows that's mostly affected, the the Windows operating system, that's what's being affected by this double finger malware that releases the greeting goal like Trojan. It's more like a Trojan, but cryptocurrency like scalar thing.
Mm-hmm.
The exe file is for Windows. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, if you're on Mac OS or Linux, well, any of the Linux distros, you're safer. There's always a chance of malware being deployed on all these other operating systems. But as we know, Windows is a really easy target. There's a quote higher percentage of users in the world who use Windows. So
Mm-hmm.
if criminals are casting a wide net, obviously you're going to catch more fish if you go to attack Windows. So I think that's why we're seeing so many exploits and seeing even Ledger Live being compromised through like fake Ledger Lives based on like Windows operating systems. But I'm saying this scenario could happen like on any operating system though. They could, you know, push a fake ledger live, and that's a compromised ledger live. And once they do that, they can, you know, trick you into thinking that you need to update your ledger. And then from there, you're just a sitting duck. Especially, like I said, the last line of defense tends to be authenticating on the hardware wallet. But if you're not vigilant and or if you enable blind signing, there could be really tricky ways to utilize blind signing to get you to authenticate that hardware like piece of the update. Because it's one thing to update the Ledger Live, it's another thing to actually update your hardware device. And that's what the criminal actors need to trick users into doing. But that's why in my thread I started out trying to say, well, this new thread, I started out trying to say, this solution that Ledger is doing is really great for institutional investors who need to have this for compliance anyways. Like they need a custodian solution anyways. This goes above and beyond compared to those. But the Ledger people said in their Ask Me Anything AMA that they were also doing this for users who were uncomfortable, who were not tech savvy. But here's my argument. While yes, it's convenient, and yes, this is a nice insurance plan, and I haven't dived deep into the insurance plan. So if the insurance plan covers theft, then I'm not going to nitpick too hard. But if it doesn't cover theft, you're telling me that you're selling this solution to like the new coiners and to non-tech people who are just freaking oblivious. And these are the same people downloading PDFs and getting infected by double finger right now. These are the same non-tech savvy people being socially engineered to still put in their seed phrase when prompted. You're telling me that you expect that type of user not to blindly accept something, and you're expecting them once they
Them
make a
will
blind
take the
signing,
Whoa,
seed.
whoa,
which
whoa.
is
Sorry, my thingy just
oh
started randomly talking to me. My bad.
oh Oh, okay. Well, and then my point is, you're telling me that whether they accept like in emotion, trying to like get a transaction or something, or whether the user, uses Uniswap and does blind signing, and they just not paying attention, or even if they were paying attention, they don't know what to look for because they are not tech savvy. You're telling me, like, well, not you, but I'm saying Ledger, you're telling me that you're expecting your users who are not tech savvy, that you want to market this solution for, to be able to protect themselves from a fake Ledger Live and a fake firmware update. Excuse me? Like, that's ludicrous. Like, unless their insurance policy with CoinCover covers theft, which I'm not clear if it does or not. I think it only covers theft or something if CoinCover and the shards are breached. I don't know if it actually covers theft if the user screws up. Okay, but I will be forgiving if the insurance covers user error. If the insurance covers user error, like they accidentally enabled the wrong firmware update from a malicious source. They lost all their crypto, but their insurance that's maxed out to 50,000, either euros or $50,000. I don't know which one. If that's covered, then that's fine. But if it's not covered, again, what is up with the false advertising? They're saying that this is a great solution for like newbies, new onboards, non-tech savvy people. But like, is it, unless your insurance protects them from their own user error, then like no, it's not a solution for those people. It is a solution for institutional investors. And it's a solution whether institutional investors want the 50K insurance anyways or not, because institutional investors already have their own insurance on crypto. So they don't even blink an eye. And they need custodian solutions, like I said, anyways.
Yeah, it just sounds like more or less if this is going to be for like a commercial or whatever insurance, they're only going to be using that 50,000 insurance for small claims probably, and they probably have one for bigger claims. Because I know businesses, if they don't got to use their insurance, they're going to try to write all about that bottom line. And it sounds like you have done almost as much work as possible. I think now the only thing you got left is really the nit and gritty of the details of the documents, like the actual agreements, the actual arrangements, the actual insurance policy, what is an attack or a hack or loss of funds. I could see easily people find out, oh, I can just say I lost funds. Boom. They out millions of dollars. Insurance policy going to be hit, 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 hit. But so I'm very curious of what stands the insurance companies are going to
Oh,
take and stuff
yeah.
like that.
You do bring up a good point. Actually, yeah, I did briefly think about that, but I didn't go into depth. You are correct. So, even if the insurance policy does cover user error, including them, you know, installing the wrong firmware update that's a malicious one and it sucks their crypto out of their wallet, right? Never to be seen again. One, if Ledger does not take like mitigation efforts to try to protect those like non-tech savvy users by somehow making a more robust solution to protect them from fake Ledger Lives, and then also maybe just stop blind signing. If they solve the blind signing, if they solve that for themselves, if they solve the whole like authentication of their Ledger Live program, like you know how you authenticate your hardware wallet? Like you should be able to authenticate the program that you download, and you can, like, there's hash fingerprints. Now I know that's asking non-tech savvy users a lot to do to verify, and I know it's difficult, but at least Ledger could say, hey, if you authenticate with this hash fingerprint of our program, you will know it's our program and not a fake one, and then therefore you're safe. If they
Hey,
do
you
that.
know something that's funny? I do repacks, so like I play games that are repacked by other people, so I don't have to have like all the intrusiveness or whatever. Also, that helps me with like custom controls for disability problems and stuff. But something that the repack that I go to for disabilities, she does this really neat thing where every repack you get when you try to install it, it actually comes with the hash signatures, and the repack throughout the installing process checks its own hash signatures based off of the ones in the downloaded with the application. So it's like other like small companies actually. Fit Girl Repack is an individual company. Um, she has figured out a solution to exactly what you're talking about: self-checking. The app actually checks
Exactly.
itself.
Exactly. That's awesome. So, like, Ledger needs to go ahead and implement something like that for Ledger Live, because otherwise, not only are their user or like client base at stake, but like you said, the insurance company is going to get tired. Like, hey, you have this vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting hit by it left and right. Like, we might not cover you anymore, like until you fix this sort of thing, because whether users abuse it or not, I'm not even going to touch on that. Just criminals alone, if they like initiate this payload and like get this going and like steal people's crypto, the insurance company is going to be very upset, because that's going to be a lot of claims that's going to hit them.
And
So
with
even before
crypto,
that
it's normally a ton of people all at once, right? Like one of the last
happens.
hacks, it was millions of people all in the same instance.
Yeah. So I'm also saying this for like Ledger's continuity. I mean, if Ledger wants to not just stay around as a company, but if they want to stay around and offer such insurance packages to the people using their shard solution, they really need to still patch up some loose ends. And the major loose end that I think is the Ledger Live software that people download, because that Ledger Live is what pushes the firmware updates. They need to close that weak link. That is current, other than social engineering, that is the next weakest link. Because if I was an attacker, I would hone in on Ledger Live like right now. And I would be, and you already brought it up. There's already sites doing that. Like people are already honing in Ledger Live, because other than social engineering, that is the next weakest link, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to completely agree with you on this. And unfortunately, we are at the end of the show today. This was worth the wait, I guarantee. Like, I am super stoked. Some of this I actually didn't even know about. And some of this got me more intrigued than ever before. So, not only do I think have you changed at least my perspective on the Ledger thing, because even when Ledger first came out, I used to always say, don't use it, don't use it. But now, through this whole situation, I actually see a potential use case for Ledger more on the corporate side than anything, but I do see it being there. And I really want to thank you for coming on. And if at any point you do more diving into this stuff or you find out more information about Ledger Live or anything, I would love to have you come on and bring this up, or for the next thing that you dive into for crypto security. You know I'm down. I am down to bring you on to let everybody know what's going up because you do some of the most detailed dives and so much that you already have an idea of what the security is and all the code and so you don't even have to like ask other people. You just know and you know how to verify. And I love that because then we get this nice nerdy deepness that we don't get with other people. Most people who even go on like the big speech platforms, you don't hear this much information. You don't hear this kind of detail. And oh wow, someone in the chat's already said Ledger Part 3. They're ready. They're ready for it. They're ready. Oh yeah. All right. Thank you again, Aramis, so much for coming in. Now, before we let
I
you
will
go,
say,
you have something to say?
yeah, I will say this real quick. I do plan on, like, once I finish this second thread, the second thread is actually not finished. That's kind of like a rough draft. But once I finish the second draft, I do want to do a final third draft, and that, I mean, not third draft, third tweet thread, because that third tweet thread, what I'm thinking is the second one is more of a critique and then of the issues that are brought up. And then the third one, I want to walk people through one, the already known attacks that people have already done on Ledger. Most of them are physical attacks, though. They have to have physical possession. But I want to walk people through like a hypothetical, how would I compromise Ledger Live? How would I do those steps? And like, I know that's dangerous because, someone could take that and then actually do it. But I think it's a really good exercise to show people the vulnerability that is probably there. And then, secondly, it would probably, push Ledger to get their shit together and patch some of those vulnerabilities. Like I said, and like you said, just automating like a hashing authentication system. So in the vulnerability third thread that I want to do on Twitter, like at the end, I want to actually like propose some solutions like, oh, this is what Ledger could do. So not only am I like showing the different attack vectors and then maybe a scenario to walk people through like that Ledger Live attack vector that I'm talking about, then at the end, I want to say, well, this could be the solution. Like, this is how Ledger can protect themselves and their users. That's the third thread that I want to do.
Well, we are looking forward to it. I hope to get you on for part 3 when you're ready. No joke. And I just had on the screen a second ago showing off your Twitter. I got the link there. Do you want to talk about your NFT collection or anything else?
Yes, I when the price of Ethereum dropped, I did start putting more of my NFTs on chain through IPFS through OpenSea. So some of them, like more of them, have been frozen. The metadata have been frozen.
Ooh.
But I'm not done. And so the ones that are frozen, I need to put up officially for sale. So they are for sale, but they're not like click easy for sale. But it's soon. It's soon, people. It's coming soon. This is the main website, my .com, and if you click the images, it just takes you right to the OpenSea, and OpenSea is where I will be actually selling my NFTs. The OpenSea account is called Amiris as well. It's my name. Just make sure you spell my name right, and you'll always get to the place. But yeah, be looking out for that soon, because I do gotta make some money soon. So I do have to put up my NFTs for sale again. And I'll probably be doing a Twitter space as well when I do that, if Elon doesn't get rid of Twitter spaces. There was a
Yeah,
rumor that he was going to get rid of them.
yeah. I heard that the spaces are causing so much problem with the servers. It's costing them more money than it's worth. Yeah. So we'll
Oh,
have
is
to
that
see
the
how
reason?
that's going. Yeah, that's the real reason. Same thing why they shut down Periscope. Did you know that? Periscope was
I did not
costing more
know.
money than what it was bringing in by almost like 3 times.
Wow. So there,
Yeah.
there might be a paid version then. It's probably going to move to like Twitter Blue or like a more expensive Twitter Blue or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what everyone's thinking. That he ain't gonna get rid of it. He's just gonna lock it behind a paywall. But if he does lock it behind a paywall, that would be for creating it, not for listening it. Which something he said that if there's still spaces, people will be able to hear it. That's what the only thing I saw him say really specifically said. If we keep them, everyone will be able to listen. So that's the only positive thing is you'd still at least be able to go in and hear your favorite podcast, so to speak.
That might be the only thing that forces my hand to buy Twitter Blue. If he puts it behind a paywall, I'm gonna have to suck it up and pay for it because I am gonna be running spaces when I release more of my NFTs. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
part of the marketing,
Yeah,
so I'm,
yeah.
I'm gonna have to be on spaces. Yeah.
And they've already put Twitter Live behind paywall. Like I don't have Twitter Blue, so I can no longer use Twitter Live.
All right, cool. But yeah, people remember Amiris NFT.com. Just spell my name right. Amiris NFT.com. And like I said, it just takes you right to the OpenSea page if you click on any of the images. I will say that I have yet to update my images. So my images on my website, on my .com, are loading really slowly. It takes about maybe 60, maybe 120 seconds. So about 2 minutes, like the worst case scenario. I do need to go back in, and I think I need to upload the smaller images and the load faster. But I also need to do other stuff. But yes, just be patient with the images loading. But other than that, like everything else works pretty much okay on my site. So yeah.
And for everybody noticing, I got the QRs for everything up. We've shown your Twitter, your NFT page, and your OpenSea, all with QRs on the top. So you can just scan and go directly there, or like you said, you can actually just go to amirisnft.com, and boom, you're ready to go. Because we really appreciate you having on, and I want to thank everybody again for showing up today. And we're gonna drop into this. Oh, I know it's got a word. Hold on a second. It's got a word. I think they call it like a an exit or an out. I don't know. It's got some kind of phrasement. I'm just clicking the buttons to see if we can get the pop up on screen.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for showing up. And as they say, let's all have a what is it? A great day, great time. Enjoy yourself, and let's go on.
Hey, you still there?
Yeah, it looks like I had a loading error.